Gotham City in 1981 is a city in decay. Our MC Arthur is preparing his clown makeup to spin a billboard for work. Arthur chases after some kids because they took his billboard. The kids knock him down to attack him and run away once they finish. Arthur is laughing uncontrollably even though he doesn't want to, and the hard times aren't helping either. The psychiatrist looks through his journal and she doesn't like what is written inside. Arthur wants more meds to fix what he's feeling, but he's already taking 7 different meds. When he's on the bus, he makes a kid laugh, but the mother is annoyed with Arthur's actions. He starts laughing uncontrollably again and shows her a medical condition card. He picks up his meds and goes home to take care of his mom. Arthur checks the mailbox before heading up because his mother Penny has been waiting for a letter from Thomas Wayne for help. They watch the Murray Franklin show together and Arthur was there as an audience member who was called down because Murray is proud Arthur is supporting his mother. The next day Randall talks with Arthur about the incident and how he needs to protect himself by giving him a gun. Arthur is told to see Hoyt because the owner wants the sign back, or Hoyt will have to deduct his pay. He's dying inside while fake smiling and he lets out his frustration after. Arthur goes home and holds the elevator for Sophie and Gigi, her daughter. Sophie makes small talk on how bad their building is and they go their separate ways. Arthur wonders why Thomas would help them because Penny hasn't worked for him for over 30 years and she believes he would once he sees their living conditions. He wants to strike it big in the comedy club and plays with the gun. The next day Arthur stalks Sophie and goes to a comedy club later to develop material for his upcoming show. Sophie asks Arthur if he is following her and hoped he robs the place. He tells her the truth while making her laugh and invites her to watch him perform in the comedy club. The next day Arthur is performing at the hospital to cheer up the sick kids, but his gun drops out. Hoyt fires him for having the gun and Randall blames Arthur for trying to buy a gun from him. On the subway, Arthur sees 3 bankers bothering a lady and she leaves when Arthur laughs uncontrollably. The 3 of them mock Arthur and start beating him for being a freak. Arthur shoots 2 of them in self-defense and goes after the last one. He ends the last one and runs away to a bathroom. Arthur starts dancing to embrace his new self and goes over to Sophie to enjoy some romance. The next day, Arthur is packing up and everyone is sad to see Arthur go, but they roast him for bringing the gun to a hospital. He exposes Randall for giving him the gun before leaving. They interview Thomas about the 3 victims because they worked for him and he's pissed the killer hid under a clown mask. He announces that he's running for mayor due to it and Arthur laughs at his remarks. Arthur goes to his weekly sessions with the psychiatrist, but he's annoyed because she's not listening to what he's saying. Sharon tells Arthur that they are closing down because their funding was cut and she's annoyed how the rich don't care about the less fortunate. Arthur is annoyed because he doesn't know what he will do for his meds and goes to the comedy show to present. He started laughing uncontrollably and is having difficulty going through his routine. After the symptoms disappeared, he could perform properly and the crowd is loving it. After the show, Arthur enjoys hanging out with Sophie. Penny wrote another letter for Thomas and wants Arthur to ship it for her. Arthur reads the letter to find out he's Thomas's son and questions Penny for answers. She hides in a safe place to tell him why she said nothing all these years. Arthur goes over to Wayne's mansion and starts performing for Bruce Wayne. Alfred gets Arthur to back off because he was getting too handsy with Bruce and shoos him off. Arthur brings up Thomas and Penny's relationship, but Alfred tells him nothing happened between them and it was all made up because Penny is delusional. He stops strangling Alfred when he sees Bruce and runs away. When he gets home, he finds the ambulance taking Penny away and goes along. When Arthur is taking a breather, 2 detectives want to question him about the subway incident again because he wasn't home, so they question Penny, which caused her to have a stroke. They asked Arthur about bringing a gun to the hospital, but Arthur told them it was a prop and lied about why he was fired. Arthur goes back inside after they make fun of his medical condition. The Murray show starts after Sophie goes out to get coffee and Murray is roasting Arthur on his terrible act. Arthur is devastated by the mockery and goes home, but he sees clowns protesting against the city's elite on TV. Thomas regrets calling people clowns because he wants to help the less fortunate. Outside of the banquet, Arthur is amazed at the protesters and sneaks inside as a worker to look for Thomas. He meets with Thomas in the washroom but finds out Thomas isn't his dad because he never slept with Penny and Arthur is adopted. Penny was tossed into Arkham State Hospital when Arthur was little and Arthur is pissed because no one is there for him. Thomas gives Arthur a warning and leaves. Arthur is getting more unhinged and hides himself in the fridge. The next morning the producer from the Murray show calls Arthur to get him to come on the show because the audience loved the clip they put up of him and Arthur doesn't mind going on. Arthur goes to Arkham Hospital to get Penny's files to find out she was sent there for endangering her child while suffering from delusional psychosis. Carl won't give the files to Arthur, so Arthur snatches them away and runs to a safe location to read them. Penny allowed her boyfriend to harm Arthur as a child, and this breaks Arthur. He returns to the apartment to look for Sophie, and she is surprised to see Arthur there. Sophie asks Arthur to leave, and we find out the time they spent together was from Arthur's imaginations. He goes back to his apartment and breaks down. Arthur returns to the hospital the next day to end his old miserable life by ending Penny to start anew. He prepares for the Murray show and plans to perform a self-deletion joke. Arthur puts on his clown makeup, but Gary and Randall make a surprise visit because they heard about Penny's death. Randall tells Arthur about the police visits while mocking Gary for being short. Arthur ends Randall for revenge and lets Gary go because he was the only one nice to him. Gary asks Arthur to open the lock for him because he's too short, and he gets out of there when Arthur helps him out. Arthur goes to the Murray show and dances on the way. The detectives want to talk to Arthur, but Arthur runs away to a busy subway filled with clowns going to the protest. Arthur starts a fight because he stole a mask from someone. Burke shot a protester by mistake and the crowd swarmed the detectives. Arthur can get away from the detectives to go to the Murray show. Murray and Jean visit Arthur before the show starts, and Arthur wants Murray to introduce Arthur as the Joker because Murray called him that earlier. Before Murray brings Arthur on, they mock him first with the clip, and Arthur makes a grand entrance. Murray lets Arthur tell a joke, and he tells them a dark joke. They don't think that joke was funny, and Arthur confesses his crimes. Murray questions Arthur if ending those people is funny, but Arthur is cool with it because he doesn't want to hide behind a mask anymore. Arthur defends his actions, and when Murray triggers him, Arthur ends him on the spot. The police take Arthur away while the news reports what Arthur did. Arthur excitedly watches the city burn due to the protest breaking out. The officers scold Arthur for causing this mess, and he's just enjoying the scene. An ambulance crashes into police and the protesters safely bring Arthur out. Arthur regains consciousness and the crowd cheers for him. He's loving their reaction and reapplies his smile with blood. The Waynes are leaving the movie theater to an alleyway, and a clown follows behind to end Thomas and Martha. Bruce was the only survivor, and that's how Batman was born. Arthur is in Arkham Asylum once again as a patient in the very system that failed him. He sits across from a new therapist, laughing to himself. When she asks what's so funny, Arthur simply replies, "You can get it." Arthur walks down the hallway, leaving bloody footprints behind, implying that he has ended the therapist because no one is bringing him back to his cell. Well, that's it for Joker. If you got up to this far, here are other recaps you may like. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.